Well, the interesting thing is that you have two factions, which is essentially where you don't want to get to in a society. You have those people who are vaccinated who think that the enemy of the state are the unvaccinated, and the unvaccinated who are looking onto the people who have been vaccinated as those big bully boys who are forcing them to do something that they might not want to do. So the mood is one of suspicion, and this is really what I think is the real damage, the long-term damage, not just for Austria or for Germany or for Switzerland or all the neighboring countries, but for the Western world, where we get used to a concept that your neighbor is the enemy. And this really takes us back to a German socialist way of thinking, which is that there are bad people in your society that need to be dealt with. In other words, it's not a pleasant place to be at the moment.
It does feel so short-termist, and the governments seem to be feeling the need to do ever more dramatic and ever more severe things in order to get to where they want to be simply tomorrow, without considering, as you say, by creating these kinds of divisions between segments of the population, those kinds of abysses, those kinds of wounds, it's anyone's guess how you get beyond them and how you heal the heart.
Well, it's particularly true given that Western governments have not been covering themselves in glory for the last 30 to 40 years. I mean, that's really the background to all of this. If you are Austrian or German, you've been told that there is officially no inflation, but you know that your pay packet is shrinking at a rate of about 6 to 10% a year, and it has been doing so since 2008. And so it's also the same governments that are telling you that when in 2010 there were only two genders, they're now 58 or an infinity. So you're dealing with a political context which is against trust, and this is essentially the reason why there's such an issue. In the end, people don't believe their politicians, they don't believe their governments, and the reason for this is not because the citizen or the subject is a fool. It's because the subject and the citizen is not a fool, because they remember what they were promised 10 to 15 years ago, and what they remember what they were promised 5 years ago or 1 year ago. But the pitch keeps changing, and the landscape remains the same. So in the end, I think the citizen finds himself in a position of thinking, who do I back? And it's not going to be the state.